Small businesses and their employees have paid a heavy price during the pandemic. There are nearly 32 million small businesses in the U.S., employing more than 47% of workers. The pandemic has forced more than 400,000 to close. The Wall Street firm Goldman Sachs is installing 10,000 Help Still Wanted signs on Capitol Hill. They represent businesses that graduated from their 10,000 small business program over the past 10 years and show that government assistance is still needed. Goldman Sachs chairman and CEO David Solomon is in Washington to lobby lawmakers on behalf of small businesses and joins us now. Good morning, Mr. Solomon. Thanks so much for being here. We really appreciate it.
Thank you very much for having me. I'm thrilled to be with you this morning.
I want to get to small business in a second, but I want to ask you about a letter that you signed yesterday. You were one of 200 business leaders who signed it, calling on Congress to accept the Electoral College results. In that letter, you wrote that attempts to thwart or delay this process run counter to the essential tenets of our democracy. There should be no further delay in the orderly transfer of power. What made you sign on to that?
Well, I think right now the discussions around moving forward are very, very important. I congratulated the vice president-elect, or now the president-elect, back in November after the election. And with all the issues we have as we're trying to move past the pandemic and move forward to help people who need help around the country, I think it's time for us to move forward and get focused on the issues at hand.
There is another round of stimulus money coming to small businesses, but many of them, 90%, have already used up the money they got from the first round. They're in dire straits. How are small businesses surviving, and what more needs to be done at this point?
Well, it's really amazing to see how so many small businesses are being nimble, trying to pivot, trying to find ways to move forward. But one of the reasons we're here today and we're so committed to the 10,000 Small Business Program is these businesses continue to need help. And if you look at the placards that are across the Capitol lawn this morning, they talk about a number of issues that small businesses still need support and help on. Obviously, this additional round of PPP funding is very helpful. Obviously, making sure that the PPP loans don't have a negative tax impact is helpful. But I'll highlight three other things that the small businesses that we've helped over the last decade are asking for. First, better access to capital. And something like the Restart Act, I think, can be very helpful with that. They need better access for their workers to health care, because health care can be such a crippling cost. And in addition, they also need support with child care, because they need to be working, they need to be focused on their businesses so they can keep their businesses moving forward. So those are just a handful of the things that small businesses are telling us they need continued support on, given the pressure they've felt during this pandemic.
Mr. Solomon, I want to talk about your desire to help, specifically black business owners. Your own survey has showed that they have a harder time getting the business loans. And what needs to be done to fix that? I understand that you want to do something about that specifically.
Well, we've tried to find ways to get capital into the hands of business of color. It's been much more difficult for small entrepreneurial businesses of color to access capital, Gail. And in the context of that, we, through PPP, deployed about $700 million of capital. And with this new PPP round, through CDFIs and mission-driven lenders, we're prepared to commit at least another $500 million of capital to get that capital access to these small businesses. And these are small micro loans that can help these small businesses bridge through over the course of the coming months till we get to the other side of the pandemic.
You talk about the importance of getting to the other side. How critical is a vaccine to the economy, Mr. Solomon, do you think?
I think it's very critical that we get the vaccine into people so that people feel safe and we can move forward with the economic vitality that's so important to this country. So I'm watching very closely, as you all are, as we all are. It's important for us to get to the other side of the pandemic, and the vaccine is an important step in that process.
Yeah, and your additional commitment that you've announced today amounts to how much?
Well, we committed back in December. We announced that we'd commit another $250 million to the 10,000 Small Business Program so that we could bring another 10,000 businesses through it in the coming years. And in addition, now that the new round of PPP is in place, we're prepared to continue through CDFIs and mission-driven lenders to deploy another $500 million of capital in small loans to help these businesses sustain.
David Solomon of Goldman Sachs, thanks so much for being with us. We appreciate it.